What's up, Jets fans? It's Christian from the Jets Report, and today I'm going to be coming at you guys with my second free agent player profile video, where today I'm going to be talking about Curtis Samuel, wide receiver, who last played for the Carolina Panthers. Curtis Samuel was the 40th overall pick back in the 2017 NFL Draft out of Ohio State. He stands at 5'11", 195 pounds, and he runs a 4.31 40-yard dash, so he's an extremely quick player. To go over some of his stats, back in 2018, he had 39 receptions for 494 yards and 5 TDs and added 84 rush yards and 2 TDs on the ground. In 2019, he put up 54 receptions, 627 yards, and 6 TDs and added 130 rush yards and 1 touchdown. And in 2020, in his career best year, he posted 77 receptions for 851 yards and 3 TDs and added a career best 200 rush yards and 2 TDs on the ground. Curtis Samuel, just going by his stats, is a guy who's consistently gotten better every single year and a guy who's improved in both the run and pass game. He's used as a Swiss Army knife in the Carolina offense, where he's using a lot of jet sweep packages, a lot of crossing routes. He's been used out of the backfield and even as a wildcat, so it's very impressive with the body of work that he's putting in. And Carolina does have a lot of offensive weapons with guys like DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Christian McCaffrey all being there during his tenure in Carolina, and he's still been able to get his body of work in and still been able to put up his numbers. Curtis Samuel is a guy who's going to beat you deep. He's extremely explosive off the line, and he'll leave defensive backs in the dust, but he also uses that speed from east to west where he runs some slant routes and beats a lot of guys horizontally. And also, he's a great 50-50 ball wide receiver, which does get a lot overlooked due to his lack of size, but he's very tough and he's very physical, and he's able to go up and get 50-50 balls against cornerbacks who are about his same size. Some areas that he does lack in his game, he lacks some elusiveness, which could be a concern because he's standing at such a small stature. Most guys like him are elusive, but he does lack some of that elusiveness. And also, he's not great in short yard situations where he has to use footwork. He does get jammed at the line a lot. But Curtis Samuel is a guy who hasn't had any major injury issues since 2017, where in 2017 he dealt with a lower back problem that kept him out 1 game, and he fractured his ankle, which kept him out 6 games. But ever since then, he hasn't missed a single game, and in 2020 he did have some hamstring issues, but it didn't keep him out at all, so it wasn't really a major injury. So looking how he would fit with the Jets, I would say if the Jets would bring him in, I could see him lining up on the outside next to Denzel Mims. He can play both outside and slot like he did in Carolina, but with Jamison Crowder on the roster, I see him primarily being an outside receiver who's also using Swiss Army packages. And a guy who loves using Swiss Army packages is Mike LaFleur, coming from that Shanahan offense as a passing game coordinator, where they use guys similarly like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk in that Swiss Army type role, where you saw a guy like Deebo Samuel running a lot of jet sweep packages, a lot of wide receiver screen packages, even some wildcat packages. And I feel like they could get really crafty with Curtis Samuel. And in the right system, which I feel like could be the Jets, Curtis Samuel could develop into a wide receiver 1 and have wide receiver 1 like numbers, because he did post over 1,000 all-purpose yards last year, and I feel like he's been improving every single year, and I'm expecting more growth next year. Now, Curtis Samuel, like I said before, would line up on the outside, but Jamison Crowder is on the last year of his deal, so I could see the Jets not wanting to resign him, especially if Jamison Crowder is asking for a large contract, and I could see the Jets just sliding in Curtis Samuel as a primary slot receiver and letting him run the slot for his time in New York once Jamison Crowder leaves. But if we do bring a guy like Curtis Samuel in, I'm also looking to draft a guy like Seth Williams from Auburn, who's a big physical wide receiver who you get in rounds 3 and 4 just to be the wide receiver 4 on the roster. Not because Curtis Samuel has injury issues and I'm looking for insurance, but because Seth Williams brings a lot to the table that Curtis Samuel doesn't, like big body receiver who could be a nice end zone threat that you throw like shoulder fades to, like similarly to a guy like Denzel Mims. And I feel like we could sub Curtis Samuel out in those packages and just bring in a guy like Seth Williams. But Curtis Samuel and in the Mike LaFleur offense, I'm really excited to see that if it does happen, because I feel like LaFleur could get very crafty with Samuel, and he could post monster numbers in New York, because you have to keep in mind, like I said before, Curtis Samuel, he was in an offense with a lot of elite skill players like Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. But if Curtis Samuel can be more of a wide receiver 1, even wide receiver 2, if guys like Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder start putting up big numbers as well. But if Curtis Samuel gets his body to work in, I could see him being an 1,000-yard receiver. I could see him rushing for over 300 yards. And a lot of people might question this because he's not that size that a guy like Allen Robinson, which is a popular free agent. But I feel like Curtis Samuel can put up good numbers on a much cheaper contract. So looking at the contract, I'm looking to sign Curtis Samuel for about a 4-year deal because he is only 24 years old. So if we sign him to a 4-year deal, we'll have him right in his prime in New York, and he'll be out at age 28 for a new contract. But looking for the money per year, I'm looking to sign Curtis Samuel for anywhere between $9 million per year to $12 million. That's really my comfortability range. Maybe $13 million a year, but that's a little shaky for me, and I don't think Joe Douglas would do that for that price. But if we sign him between the $9 and $12 million range, I'll definitely be happy. So realistically, I don't really see him signing for as low as $9 million. My estimate is we get him for like 4 years, $44 million, which I'll be totally happy about. So let me know your thoughts on Curtis Samuel in the comment section down below and whether you want to bring him in. And as always, go Jets.